Okay, let's get started. This is the first one, which I didn't really have a list yet for. I was just getting going, and I based it on the style that you might recognize from Dr. Seuss. You can tell because of the very, very simple construction and not a lot of details on it. There you go. There you go, Russell. Good job. Make a list now. It's the 10 Styles Challenge. Hopefully you got 10. You don't. Whatever. We'll move on. You can see there's some reference to the Thing 1 and Thing 2 and the hairstyle there. That was really the hardest part about the Dr. Seuss one. Was trying to get the hair to look reminiscent, and the hands were also there. Moving on. Here we have Lego. Lego's done a lot more licensing with other properties in recent years than they ever did in the past. In fact, I don't think they ever used to until very recently. So the minifigs are familiar. This may actually be reflective of an existing minifig. I don't know. But you can see I'm carrying forward that same kind of bathing suit style, pink and red costume theme. And I'll use that for all of them. Now this one here, this one's done in the DC Comics style, hence all the extra black lines and such there. But you can see I'm actually using a reference for this because I didn't really read a lot of DC Comics growing up or even currently. One thing that I did do here intentionally, which is kind of an inside joke as far as people who read comics and appreciate comic book art, is comic book artists are really reluctant to draw feet. Some of them, I feel, are famously terrible at it and avoid it at all costs. And so I thought this reference of Black Canary was hilarious because even though she's crouching out there in an alleyway full of rubble, with no rubble around her, she's got one foot tucked completely underneath her body, and the other one, which is otherwise obviously out in the open, is obscured by her hand. So on Scarlet Witch, I brought part of her cape over, which is another part of her costume, to completely obscure the same foot. It was just a joke there, referencing that aspect of comic book art. But yeah, you can see I'm not a comic book inker. Those people have my utmost respect. This is a lot of work, and it's really hard. It's its own art form. I really don't understand it that much, so I tried a lot of hash marks and varying degrees of shading. Most of it done with a very thin setting on the ink brush. And then I use the what would be like the eyedropper from Photoshop, if it's for Photoshop. I'm doing this in Procreate, by the way, to grab some of the colors from the background stuff, so I can make the background on the Scarlet Witch one look similar. Okay, so anyway, I'm looking back out and get an idea of where I want this to go. Next one is the Among Us reference, and I thought this is hilarious to put the bathing suit skin on there because it just stands out so awkwardly on the outside of the crewmate's costume. But it was super simple, so I was done with it in no time flat. And this is a really productive day on this exercise. So I had extra time to spend on Sonic, which is this one now. I didn't play the Sonic the Hedgehog series of games very much, but I was familiar with the style, and my friends played it quite a bit. So I didn't really reference much on this one. I just kind of took a look at a couple different game covers or gamer magazine covers and got an idea of what kind of poses they used and the style of the face. And this was the first one where I used much blending, and very simple blending though, kind of white highlights and some more saturated shadows with some black, not too much. And really that was it. The main thing here was the pose style, the face style, and the hands. Okay, so this next one I tortured myself. I really should have done more homework on this one. This is the line work for the Pixelated style. And oh my goodness, are there easier ways to do that on Procreate than what I did. Yeah, you can see it right now. I'm drawing the individual squares like a doofus. So it took a lot of work to get this to look the way that I wanted, the way that I imagined, because drawing squares is awkward for me. But yeah, I got it there eventually. Same costume style going forward, you know, the cape, the one-piece bathing suit, the silly boots, and the funny head thing. But I was really happy with the way it turned out. So now that I've got enough of them, I figured it's probably time to start arranging them and figure out the grid. So that's what we continue doing here. And that helped me to put off working on the next style, which is Clint, based on the artist Gustav Klimt. Klimt has done a lot of different styles, actually, so really the reference that I'm using is just some of his paintings where he had a very pale figure, mostly obscured, and then a lot of Art Nouveau curves and abstract shapes and really kind of contrasting colors. Most of the natural figures are very muted, and you see some saturated colors kind of pop it off the page. So, and then also gold. I didn't spend a lot of time trying to make it look like gold because that would have been a lot of over-rendering. But if I were going to do this in real life, I'd actually use gold leaf to do that one. So, anyway, I was really satisfied with how it came out, though, and moved it on. This one's based on the Fairly OddParents style, and the gentleman responsible for that cartoon has his own channel and lots of references for you to follow if you want to learn how to do that style. He teaches you how to do it all the time. So this is again following the same color pattern. I maybe would bring some of the other images back in to get a reference for the color that I used, and I thought it turned out really well. But Michelle pointed out I needed to vary the line weight. The outlines need to be a heavier line weight than the interior lines. And in a lot of these cases, Michelle's feedback was really valuable to making the artwork better. She provided feedback as I was going along, because I think she was just as excited about this exercise as I was. Okay, so you can see here now I've moved on to the hieroglyphics. And I started out with the line work and I wasn't really happy with it. And the more I looked at that reference, the more I stared at it to kind of get an idea of what the line work should look like. The more I thought, what if I just made it look like the actual carved stone? So, yeah, after kind of getting an idea of what I want the pose to be, you can see I'm kind of basing it on the figure on the left of that reference. I don't even remember where this reference came from, but I'm kind of basing the posture on the figure on the left, but I'm using some of the twist in the torso on those central figures. So that's a very consistent theme. The feet all point the same direction. The hips are going towards the other figures, but the torsos tend to be twisted in an exaggerated fashion relative to the hips. And so I've kind of done that. But the reason why you don't see me doing a whole lot of work right now is I'm actually trying to figure out what the brushes and color techniques that I use at a super small scale. In Procreate, I'm zoomed way in right now to get an idea of how to get those textures just right, or at least satisfactory anyway. So I'm getting an idea of it. I'm starting to figure some stuff out. I'm trying out different brushes. I'm not a professional artist, so it's taking me some time, and I think I've got it where I like it. So I'm gonna come back out and start to figure out the rest of the pose and fill in those details. And so I've got the pose where I like it. Got the cape in the shot. I've got the boots. I've got the feet, the hands, the whole 9 yards. I really like how the head turned out. That wavy hair kind of matches that headdress on that figure on the left-hand side of my reference. And one of the cool things about that relief sculpture there is that, sorry, the relief carving, is they managed to cover some basic musculature. So you can see they got the booties, highlighted a little bit. They got the calves, the knees are actually pretty sophisticated. So yeah, they paid attention to their anatomy on the relief carving. I thought I'd do the same. There's a lighting source on the reference image, and I'm kind of following the same pattern for how to light the drawing, where it's central and above, but close enough to the artwork to where it can leave shadows inside of the cracks that have been broken in the rock or the lines that have been carved in. So I did some of that, and I was pretty satisfied with the result. It's at this point where Michelle pointed out I needed the hieroglyphs. So not just the relief carving, but the hieroglyphs. And she said, if I'm going to do an Avenger hieroglyph drawing, I need to make the hieroglyphs reminiscent of the Avengers themselves. And so you can see I did that with the Thor's hammer, the Mjolnir up there, or Meow Meow, as Kat Denning's character likes to call it. No, I didn't go through and do all the Avengers. Just some obvious ones, and I also pulled in some random figures and characters from actual reference hieroglyphs. I don't know what they mean. I didn't even look them up. I just thought, I've got some space to fill that's roughly this shape, and pulled them in. So for all I know, I could be making some very obscure, dirty joke. But as you can see, though, I did add that crack that kind of runs across that figure on the reference, and I think it really deepened the effect, along with the other textures. So I think this is probably my favorite of all 10 of these. So the last one is supposed to be in my style, and I'm not really sure what my style is, but I pulled in the inspiration for doing it this way, which was the Halloween episode from Wandavision, and she's got that throwback costume on, and it's just so funny, especially considering all of Mizzle's other costumes throughout the series that are more modernized with a lot more like leather and more comfortable, more body covering gear. So I decided to use the Halloween episode costume for the whole thing, and here's that costume. So here it is. One of the interesting things about that TV series is you can kind of see it in her expression. She's got a little bit of a little bit of misgivings about how it's supposed to look. But anyway, there's all 10. I tried to get the expression right. I tried to get these all to kind of look right and balanced. It was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it.